Good afternoon, Namibia and the world, and welcome to our Monday edition at the Government Information Center. My name is Shanghula Kahiha, and I will be your moderator for this blessed afternoon. Our topic for this afternoon, we are looking at the academic transformation from secondary to tertiary education. This is the first in a series of 3, where we are looking to encourage, enlighten, inform, educate our young people with regards to these 2 institutions, what is happening, what they can do, what they need to know, and so forth. But before we jump into the topic for the day, we would like to ask Dr. Kalumbi Shanghula to give us the COVID update for this afternoon. Good afternoon, Dr. Shanghula. How are you?
I'm well, thank you very much.
We have missed you at our center. Welcome back.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank
my
you.
Pleasure.
Yeah.
Esteemed panel members, fellow Namibians, I'm going to present the COVID update for the 6th of February 2022. We have received results of 1,121 during the past 24 hours reporting cycle, and out of those results, 73 are all new positive cases. The 73 cases translate into 6.5% positivity ratio. The sex distribution is 37 males and 36 females. The age range from 10 months to 75 years. As follow. Omaheke, 40, all from Hobabis. Erongo, 10, 8 from Swakopmund and 2 from Wolf's Bay. Comas, 9, all from Windhoek. Onsati, 6, with 4 from Outapi and 2 from Oshikuku. Karas, 3 from Keetmanshoop. Kavango West, 2 from Kabangoro. Oshikoto, 1 from Amthia. Ochadanjupa, 1 from Grootfontein. And Zambezi, 1 from Katimamuliro. We are reporting cases from 9 regions, with more than half cases, which is actually more than 40, recorded from the Omaheke region alone, which constitute 54.8% of the total cases. Among the confirmed cases, there are 44 learners, of which 37 are all from the Ochivero Primary School in the Hobabis district. This is the 3rd school in Hobabis district with clusters of cases since the 1st of February 2022. 3 teachers and 2 healthcare workers are among those who tested positive. 2 of the cases have received 1 dose of COVID-19 vaccines, and 5 cases are fully vaccinated, of which 3 have received the booster dose, while 66 cases are not vaccinated, and they are accounting for 90.4% of the total confirmed cases. On the positive note, we have recorded 442 recoveries. The number of active cases now is 5,989. 72 cases are currently hospitalized across the country, across the 13 regions, with the exception of Kavango West. 2 of the hospitalized cases have received 1 dose of COVID-19 vaccine. 5 are fully vaccinated, while 65 are not vaccinated, constituting 90.2% of all hospitalized cases. 4 cases are in intensive care units, and none of them is vaccinated. Again, on a positive note, we have not recorded any death due to COVID-19 of the last reporting cycle. By 5th of February 2022, a total of 421,280 people aged 18 years and above have received at least one dose of COVID-19 vaccines, which represent 28.6% of the target population. A total of 116,142 have received the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, while 245,549 adults have received 2 doses of other vaccine types. Hence, 361,691 adults have completed their vaccination schedule, which translates into 24.6% of the target population. 5,036 children aged 12 years and 17 years, aged between 12 and 17 years, have received 1 dose of the Pfizer vaccine, representing 1.6% of the target population. Of this, 1,156 are fully vaccinated. Hence, the cumulative number of people vaccinated with the first dose of COVID-19 vaccines for both adults and children is 426,316, of which 362,847 are fully vaccinated, translating into 20.4% of the target population. 18,525 people have received the booster dose. Now, in terms of summary, the cumulative newly confirmed individuals is 156,444, and cumulative number of cases including reinfections is 158,474, with 148,490 recoveries, translating into 95% recovery rate. The cumulative number of vaccine completed is 362,847. Total deaths due to COVID-19 proper is 3,655, with 325 COVID-19 related deaths, giving us a total death of 3,980. So far, we have tested 930,809 samples. The cumulative number of people who have ever been in quarantine facilities, 87,290, of which 86,989 have been discharged, leaving a total number of 301 individuals currently in the quarantine facilities. This concludes today's update, and I thank you for your kind attention.
Thank you very much, Dr. Kalumbi Shanghula, for the update for this afternoon. And please, Dr. Shanghula, don't be a stranger on our platform. We do miss you. We like having you around. You shouldn't be a stranger. We want to see you more. Please, we're actually happy to see that you are in high spirits and in good health. I think the results are kind of removing the stress from you. It's good.
Thank you very much. You'll
Thank you,
get tired
Doctor.
of me now.
No, no, never, never. Thank you. That was Dr. Kalumbi Shanghula. As we said, he hasn't been with us for quite some time. I think the Ministry of Health is keeping him very, very busy, so we are glad to see him again. As he said there that there were there were 0 deaths recorded in the current or previous reporting cycle, which makes us quite happy. As Namibians, we have been doing our best, I believe, and I implore us to continue putting in the efforts to try and minimize the number of, COVID infections, and also to keep the COVID death rates at 0. As he also said that this is the second time that the Omaheke region, Khobabs to be in particular, reported a cluster of infections within our schools. So we do really urge our learners and our teachers to please, please, please stick to the health regulations that are in place. Continuously wash your hands with running water and soap. Continue to disinfect your surfaces and everywhere else that you're moving around, and also practice the social distancing as much as possible. Getting back to our topic for the afternoon, we are looking at the academic transformation from secondary to tertiary education. And in the studio today, as well as on our online platform, we do have a healthy representation of panelists from our various institutions that are going to be helping us to tackle this topic. As young people, especially in these trying times, one never really knows where to or how to when you are moving from one sector, which is the lower level, being secondary education, to being a tertiary student. So this is what we're trying to address this afternoon. We do have Professor Erika Mas. She is the registrar at the University of Namibia, joining us online. Good afternoon, Professor. Thank you very much for joining us and making the time to be here with us. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes. And then on our far left, we have Mr. Venant Dhrhardt. He is the acting registrar at NUST. Thank you very much for being with us this afternoon.
Thank you, and good afternoon.
We are also joined by Mr. Olavi Hamwele. He is the Chief Human Capital and Corporate Affairs person for us representing NASFAF. Good afternoon. How are you, sir?
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me.
Thank you. And we also have Mr. Aquilinus Nashilundo. He is the registrar at IUM. Thank you for being with us.
Yes, good afternoon.
We will hop right in. I think we would want to know from the various institutions of education that are here. I think the very pertinent question at this moment is, how will the late release of results affect applications and registration, the process thereof, for the learners that are coming from high school looking to move into tertiary level? I think we can begin with Mr. Dhrhardt. Maybe you can start off with us on that one.
Thank you, and thank you for the question. The late release of the results. We had to re-strategize because our academic calendar has been approved already last year. And when we received the news that the results will be released late, we re-strategized, but realized that we have to keep to the calendar. We're not going to change the calendar, rather make some changes that to accommodate the late release of the result. So therefore, we have a special registration for these learners, the results that is coming late, from the 1st to the 11th of March.
Okay.
We also keep our late applications open until the end of February, to give learners an opportunity, once the results are released, so that they can also apply.
Okay.
So just to make sure that that we assist those learners as well.
Wow, that is good to hear. It gives hope. I'm sure a lot of learners were getting worried with regards to that. But that is NUST. Professor Mas, is this the same with the University of Namibia?
Yes, absolutely. As a university, we have already preempted last year with the COVID-19 situation, that results may come out later than what we normally get them.
Yeah.
And therefore, our calendar already made provision for that. Our first year registration is bound to start next week. We've already started this week, actually today, with our document verification as a pre-registration process for our first years. But the actual registration starts next week, and we were pleasantly surprised by the ministry, and we are very thankful for the AS results that have been released earlier than what we expected. However, of course, we still sit with the situation of the grade 12 legacy results due to the leakages of the examination papers. And we are making provision for these students with the registration period basically the same that NUST will be doing. So we will definitely not leave these students of ours out in the cold, and we will be waiting for them. And we hope that those results are coming out as soon as possible.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mr. Nashilunda, the situation at IUM?
Thank you. Yes, it's basically the same. Our dates were planned, but for students who are waiting for their results to be released and who have gotten admission, their places are sort of reserved. So when their results are released, they can simply come to IUM, and we have reserved those places, so they will not be disadvantaged. However, we didn't put the specific date to it. We, in terms of our planning, all we did was to say from the date of the release of the results, we would have 5 working days to register them.
Okay.
The same thing with applications. The application has been extended until the almost end of the month. So those who haven't applied yet and they are waiting for their results, specifically the ordinary level results for the new curriculum, they can still submit their late application.
Okay. Okay. I'm sure a lot of our learners were very much worried and anxious to that regard. So it's 2 things, positivity-wise. AS level results came out earlier than expected. That is one problem solved or stress relieved. And then we have these institutions having made provision to make sure that none of these students are left behind with regards to application and registration processes, with a lot of these extension going all the way up to the end of March, from what I understood. Pardon me. So we would like to also remind you as a viewer that you are welcome to join us in this conversation. It's a national conversation, honestly speaking, and I'm sure the panelists that are with us today would not mind hearing from you at all, because sometimes, as much as we run the institutions, we are in the offices, we never really get to know all the issues that are on the ground. So please do join us. Our number here is 061, that's the area code. The number is 400-397, 400-397, that's the call-in number. You can also reach us on our social media platforms. On Facebook, we are Ministry of Information and Communication Technology. Republic of Namibia, that's our Facebook page. Ministry of Information and Communication Technology, Republic of Namibia. On YouTube, our channel handle is MICT Namibia. MICT Namibia, that is on our YouTube channel. Moving on with the discussion this afternoon, we are aware of the fact that annual registration fees are always a burden on parents. They bring stress to the students who are supposed to be embarking on their new academic years. And some of these learners, unfortunately, tend to miss out because of something like that. We would like to know this afternoon, how are your institutions preparing to assist and meet parents halfway, especially with the past 2 years having been quite a roller coaster for a lot of employees, with many numbers having been retrenched and so forth. We would like to hear from Mr. Hamwele. NASFAF, what is the action plan?
Yeah, thank you very much for that question. We have started the application process already on the 27th of January.
Yeah.
And that application process will continue, will run until the end of March. As of today, we have about 1,900 people that have applied, which is a good thing. what we have done, we have basically reached out to many, to local institutions to make an arrangement with regard to the registration. The current arrangement is that those who are going to register with an acknowledgement letter from NASFAF will be getting what we call a reduced registration fee that they have to pay on the registration date.
Yeah.
So, and we are happy because we have seen also in the media, especially NAS and UNAM, whereby they have released some information indicating the amounts of registration fees that people with acknowledgement letters from NASFAF will pay. And that is quite minimal, and we feel that it is reasonable for the parents, given the situation that we find ourselves in.
Very good to know. Somewhere, somehow, assistance is coming. Changes have been made to try and accommodate. That is from the NASFAF angle. But IUM, Mr. Nashilunda, are there any arrangements in place, maybe?
Thank you. First and foremost, the students, the continuing students, or senior students as we call them, that are NASFAF funded, first, we do not ask for any registration fee from them.
Okay.
We have a letter of commitment from NASFAF to say they would settle those fees on behalf of the students. So those ones are catered for and they can rest easy.
Okay.
The second group would be initially, in terms of our fee structures, students at the beginning of the year are supposed to pay a registration fee as well as what is known as a deposit.
Yeah.
Now, because of the current situation, of the financial situation in the country that has been not well in the past 2 years or so, we have dropped the deposit.
Okay.
So instead of asking the students to pay registration fee as well as the deposit, we would say that you just, for now, to register, to enable you to register, you simply pay the registration fee. And the deposit, you can pay for it later in the year. So I think that is some kind of assistance as well.
Yeah, no, definitely.
The last one is that we kept our registration fee constant
Yeah.
for the past 2 years, for the past 2 years.
Yeah, yeah.
And again, we are cognizant of the situation, so we kept it at that flat rate. And it's quite affordable comparatively, if we have to look at other institutions in the country. So that's how we assist our students.
Okay, okay. No, that's understandable, especially if you consider the fact that now you have kind of removed the element of the immediate deposit as well. So that is somehow a way in which IUM is trying to meet the parents halfway, if we can call it that. Professor Maas, are we having some form of rearrangement with regards to fees payment at the University of Namibia?
Yeah, first of all, of course, as was indicated, our bursary holders, those who are having a written proof of their sponsorship, don't need to pay anything during the registration period, depending, of course, on the conditions of the particular sponsorship.
Yeah.
And as was also explained, those with the acknowledgement letters from NASFAF will only pay the registration fees. And we hope that those acknowledgement letters will be forthcoming very quickly, because that will also assist our students to only pay that lower registration fee. Now, I think the biggest problem are those students of ours where the parents need to stand in for all the fees. I think that is where the biggest problems are.
Yeah.
And as a university, we are trying to make it more affordable for our students and specifically for our parents by spreading out the payments in 4 big chunks as the normal process that we are having. We will still have a tuition deposit fee at registration, which is roughly 25% of the tuition fees, because it's roughly 50% of the first semester, 25% of the entire tuition fees. Then we have another chunk, the remainder of the first semester, that needs to be payable by the end of May. Again, another 25% roughly during registration in July, and the remaining 25% before the 30th of November. And the reason why we are doing this also is to try and break it up in manageable pieces. If we have too little to pay at the beginning of the year, the burden becomes too big later in the year, and then our students and our parents are suffering again later in the year. But in addition to this, for students and parents who really do suffer at the moment, we do have a debit order facility. They can contact our finance department and make arrangements to pay through a debit order facility. And we have used this very successfully last year and the previous year. However, we also found that some of our students, unfortunately, some of our parents who made these arrangements, then were not able to honor these payments. And of course, that is causing problems. So there are a variety of options available and open to our students. And we really want to ask them and to reach out to us with the problems that they do experience, that we can see how we can assist them on an individual basis. Thank you.
Mr. Dhrhardt, NUST.
From NUS side, I think NSFAF already explained for those who already received the commitment letters. So they will honor that agreement. The rest of the students, for the first years, for example, we have a registration fee of 4,200, which is a non-refundable registration fee of 1,910. That's for registration, and the rest is deposit on the tuition fee. So unfortunately, they will have to pay that 4,200, and then make arrangements on how to pay the rest of the money as soon as possible throughout the semester. You know, when, from our side, from the finance department, we send regular reminders to students, reminding them that fees are, they need to pay their fees, exams are coming up, they will not receive the results, for example, if they are outstanding balance. So there's a regular contact with students to remind them and to see how they can be assisted. So far, if parents can afford it, they honor that commitment. But we know in some cases that parents lost their jobs, so that is also something that we need to look into future and to see how we can assist those students with really sitting with a challenge to pay their tuition fees.
I think, Mr. Hamwele, as you heard, a lot of these commitment letters are the tickets to a lot of these learners being able to be registered. So I'm sure you'll have to put the fire under somebody at your offices to start getting them churned out and pushed to the different institutions. And I think the other thing is also what we are picking up from the 3 different institutions that we have here. It's about approaching the institution. If you are struggling somewhere, if you are failing to, meet a particular commitment that you had arranged, it's about getting up and actually approaching the institution. I mean, at the end of the day, a lot of these institutions are aware of the situations that people are finding themselves in. So it doesn't help for us to just sit at home and hope for the best, So anything is possible to make sure that the Namibian child is educated. And this also brings us to our next question. There have been so many changes, especially due to COVID that struck. It's been a roller coaster for our learners and students to such a point where I'm sure some of them are not even sure of certain things and how to approach or what they're supposed to do with at the institution or for the institution's registration process. And thus it brings us to the question, have there been changes in the different admission requirements or so on at the different at your respective institutions? If not, if yes, if not, what are the admission requirements? We can start with Professor Maas. UNAM's admission requirements, what are they? What have the changes been between the past and now that we've had these roller coasters, especially since COVID hit us? Professor Maas? There you are.
Yes, for 2022, there are no substantive changes in our admission requirements, except for the fact that we do require AS as the final school leaving certificate for our students. But we are still requiring the 25 points in 5 subjects. At least 2 of them needs to be at AS level with a minimum of E, which is your lowest passing grade in the AS, and the rest of them on the O level. So there are, in fact, no changes for 2022.
Okay.
We have simply aligned our admission requirements to take care of the AS.
Okay.
We will have some changes for 2023, but that is aligned to our new curricula, not specifically anything else. So for 2022, no real changes except that we do require a combination of AS and O levels.
Okay.
25 points.
Okay. Mr. Dhrhardt?
From NUST side, our general admission requirements is still 25 points in 5 subjects, including an E, minimum E in English. So that's a requirement. Then we have program-specific requirements.
Yeah.
For example, the 25 points will not give you automatically entry to courses, for example, like the BTech and the BEng degrees, for example, and health and applied sciences. So they have program-specific requirements, for example. So, but those are communicated already to students. They're in our yearbooks. They can visit our website for more information, or they can call and contact our faculty officers. But we haven't changed much from the previous year. We might look into revising the entry requirements this year and see how in 2023 what will the entry requirements be, but that will be communicated to our students in advance, especially for those who apply. When we go out to schools for recruitment, for example, that's the first thing that if we change, that will make students aware of. But currently, we are still at 25 points minimum requirement. But with the exception that program specific, they are different.
Okay.
Thank you.
So with this program specification,
Yes.
does that mean then you are a bit on a different spell compared to UNAM? Because they are requiring an AS minimum of 2. Does the program specification now that NUST is adapting also require the same, or?
When I mention program specific, this is not something new. We've been doing it all along.
Okay.
If I can give you one example, let's say we take the B.Tech degree.
Yes.
So we say the general admission requirement is 25 points. But program specific, if a student would like to do a B.Tech degree, the minimum is 30 points in 5 subjects.
Okay.
Right? So including a D symbol in English on NSSC ordinary level, then we require a A symbol or a grade 3 in NSSC O or NSSC H, the old curriculum, and then an A symbol for physics, chemistry, and maths, for example, on NSSC AS.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So this is what I'm saying, program specific.
Yeah. Okay. No, I'm sure now we've received a bit of clarity with regards to what the 2 different forms
Yes.
of admission requirements mean when it comes to NUST. Before we get to IUM, we've got a caller on the line. Good afternoon and welcome to our session this afternoon. Thank you very much for joining us. Caller, hello. Hello, caller. Good afternoon. Okay. While we wait to receive that caller again, we will move on to Mr. Nashilunda. Maybe you can explain to us what the situation is at IUM.
Thank you once again for the question. First, I just want to also clarify before I mention whether we change requirements. You do not just, in the middle of a curriculum, decide to change requirements. Because requirements for a particular program are documented from the beginning of that program. And you cannot just every year change them. So unless you wait until the curriculum is run out, when you review the curriculum, then you can change it. So with that intro, that means IUM have not changed its admission requirements in terms of points. For our degree programs, we still need a minimum of 25 subjects.
25
And
points.
in 5 subjects, now I need to make this very clear, either at ordinary level, or at high level, or AS level, or a combination.
Okay.
So, what that means, you can actually get admitted with O level only. You can also get admitted with a combination of O level and AS level. So that's what we mean when we say combination. But for our degree programs, 25 points minimum. Now, this is basic. So I'm not going into details on specific program, because there are some programs like a Bachelor in Electronics.
Yes, yes.
The minimum is 25, but you still need a specific symbol in a
specific
subject. Yeah, those are specific.
So something similar to what NAST is having.
Yes.
Based on
So-
the type of subject,
Yes,
is what it requires.
you might
in a-
add
okay.
to the 25 points. So in addition to 25 points, you also need to have ABC. But the 25 points remain
The
minimum
standard, yeah.
for degree programs.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. We've got our caller back on the line. Good afternoon, and thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. How are you?
Fine, and how are you this afternoon?
Yes. How do you want to add to our discussion this afternoon?
I wanted to pose 2 or 3 questions on the discussion. The first one will go to Mr. Dhrhardt, which is the person responsible for NAF.
Yes.
First of all, I wanted to find out about, in this difficult time, we do understand that the male hostels are not available, the accommodation for the males are not there. And then secondly, what is the reasons being? Then secondly, the registrations that are done at NAS are done at semester-wise, meaning that first semester you have to register yourself and you have to pay for the tertiary fee, which is applicable at that time. And then for the second semester, you have to re-register. Why is it not once-off registration in the beginning of the year at NAS? And then lastly, it will go to the person from the NSF. I wanted to find out, because when the applicants applied, it's sort of, there is an indication during this pandemic also that it was pre of the pandemic also. It says there are sort of prioritized fields that are funded by NAS. However, there are certain fields that they don't prioritize, and those students that are applied for loan at NAS for those specific fields that are not prioritized, seen as prioritized fields in Namibia, then it means they normally lose out on having that, and they don't get that opportunity of going to the university at the end of the day, while the parents could not afford. So at least NAS could maybe in this regard assist us in terms of their requirements. However, there might be certain study fields that they feel these are prioritized fields, but then they have to give us sort of a hand on how they were at least selecting the learners in terms of, is it based on the qualifications of them, or is there certain factors that are also taken into consideration when the loans are given out to the learners or to the students that are applying there?
Mr. A said, your last question, are we speaking now with regards to the finances at NASFA, or are we
Yeah,
speaking...
how they are financing the students. Because sometimes when the parents apply, it seems to be that the certain fields are prioritized fields. This is what the NAS is giving back. They will give you back a letter that says this is the reason being that you have been turned down. Then it means the certain fields are there that are prioritized fields, whereby the learner or the student that wanted to study in certain other fields cannot be assisted. Yeah, that is the first thing. However, there are a lot of institutions, even though in Namibia, that are aggregated out. But NAS is mostly focusing on certain institutions only. The others are not funded. They have started with the vocational training centers, and those are also included. But then there are certain institutions also that have been aggregated in Namibia that are also applied by learners. But those that are there, they don't have that opportunity because NAS don't fund, and NSF don't fund those institutions. These are type of the things that are there. So we might get a clarity from the madam that is there, so that we can know, in fact, that is NSF only funding a certain institutions and also only prioritized fields, as well as what criteria are they using when they are intending down the students. Is it according to what they have got, the marks that they have, or how they pass, or is it according to certain way they are going to which institution?
Okay, okay.
All right, thanks, man.
Thank you very much for joining us,
Yes, sir.
Mr. Asaid. We really appreciate it. He's
All
calling
right.
us from Omaruru, and
Yes.
as we're saying to everybody else, you can join us as Mr. Asaid has added his views and questions and posed them to the panelists. We have 3 questions here. I think maybe we can start with Nast with regards to the hostels for the male students. Apparently, they are not available to students at this current moment, and what are then the arrangements that NAST has probably or maybe put in place to try and accommodate and mitigate the situation? The second one is the
Registration.
twice a year registration
Registration.
process, where he's asking, why does it have to be twice? If I am definitely there for the whole year and my course is not a semester course, why can't I just register once at the beginning of the year? The second question, or the third question, pardon me, is it speaks to NASFA with regards to the funding. Are there priority courses that NASFA funds? And if so, maybe is there a list that jots down the criterias of how NASFA goes about to fund the different learners or students? Mr. Dhrhardt?
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Asep, also for the questions. I'll start with the first question with regard to the male hostel accommodation. The hostels, and I think the public is aware that they are very old buildings, and we had to do renovations, but before we started with the renovations, evaluation was done by the quantity surveyors, and they found that it's a danger to students in some cases where if renovations is not done immediately.
Yeah.
So we cannot run the risk of putting students in the hostel where students can be injured before we pay attention to that for now. This is why we had to close the hostel down, currently busy with the renovations. Unfortunately, we do not have other hostel accommodation at the moment. And this is not something that for 2022 that we're going to have for now, until the hostel is repaired.
Okay.
Your second question with regard to registration. When students, not all courses are year courses. Most of our courses are semester courses. And they are prerequisites, for example. They are only offered, for example, let's say if I take, for example, Statistics 1A. It's only offered in semester 1. And Statistics 1B is offered in semester 2. So that means you will have to pass 1A first before you can register for 1B. So we cannot register you for both and you continue, because it's a prerequisite for the other. And that's why we have 2 registrations, making sure that we register all students, making sure that they register for all courses. At the end of the day, the faculty officer will monitor to make sure that you've completed all courses by the time you are up for graduation and they do promotion, then they are sure you've actually completed all courses.
Okay.
Thank you.
I think that answers the question. It's quite fair. I mean, if most of them are semester courses, as you're saying,
Yeah.
you need to know whether you've actually qualified for the next one.
For the next one, yeah.
Understandably. Before we get to the next question that spoke to the NASFAF and whether or not there is prerequisites and prioritized courses, we have a caller on the line, and he's calling us from Venant. Good afternoon. How are you, caller?
I'm fine, hi, ma'am.
We are well. How are you, Savanas?
I'm fine. So my question is basically, I got a provisional admission from UNAM. Okay? So, but I wanted to apply for this NASFA funding for this academic year. So the application is an online application. So then you'll enter certain details and there'll come a section where they require your candidate number for the exam that you've written.
Okay. Are you a first time? Are you a would-be first-time student?
Yeah.
Okay. So your question now is basically, with this application form requesting for a candidate number, how's that possible if You have never been a student, or candidate number as in from your examination that you just wrote?
Yeah, for my examination, because when I enter this candidate number, it doesn't like showcase my results, so I can check whether I'm eligible for the funding.
Okay.
Yeah, so my question is basically, when will they like get the results of the AS level? The students that wrote AS level last year, when will they get the results in their system for us to apply?
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, I hear you now, and I think I'll marry it with the previous question that's also directed to NASFA. Thank you very much. I think, Mr. Salvanus, your question is very relevant, because I'm sure a whole bunch of learners are also wondering about the same thing. So thank you for joining us this afternoon. I'll give that question to Mr. Hamwele. He can respond to us to that regard.
Thank you very much for that question. Let me start with the first one. The requirements generally are the same.
Yeah.
Whether you are participating in a priority field of study or not. For a basic degree, undergraduate, you need to have at least 25 points in 5 subjects. That is now local. But however, if you want to study outside Namibia, especially in the field of medicine and engineering, you need to have 35 points. Or alternatively, for the other courses, you need to have 30 points. So that remains the same. Our emphasis in terms of the priority field of study is mainly for the postgraduate study. Because we would like to match the postgraduate study and development, which is more of a research-based, to the national priorities in terms of the NDPs. So that is where we are a little bit more strict in terms of definitely focusing on certain areas that are key to the economic development of the country. But for the undergraduate and the vocational training level, we almost fund everything under the sun. We do not really, we are not really strict on that one. However, I would like to encourage the applicants to visit our website, look at the priority fields of study, and be informed properly before you launch your application, so that you make sure that, especially if you are doing your postgraduate, you are basically applying for a field that is going to be funded in terms of the priority field of study.
Okay. I hope that was clear to Mr. Ased, who posted that question to Mr. Hamwele to that regard. Coming to the second question that was posed by Mr. Salvanus with regards to the availability of these records onto your systems, because I think that's one of the requirements on the application, the online application, that they're struggling with.
Yeah. I'm not sure now whether he's talking about applying to NASFA or applying to the institutions of higher learning.
No, he was referring to the application to NASFA, because what he said is he received a letter, a provisional acceptance letter from the University of Namibia, but now he needed to enter his code into the application process with NASFA, and that's where he's struggling, because it does not reflect his AS marks. And that's where he's asking, when are the two systems going to be linked? Because I think that's where they're stuck now. They can't continue with the application process due to those missing results.
Okay. No, thank you very much for that one, for making it clear. What we do, once the results are out at Ministry of Basic Education, what we do, we get a file, and then we download that particular file into our system.
Okay.
So that the system can easily, when you apply and you enter your number, so the system will be able to pull your information, your results. And then obviously our system will now check whether you qualify for funding in terms of the minimum points in 5 subjects. Now perhaps maybe they should just be a little bit more patient, The other 1,900 people that I've spoken about, these are people that probably have completed last year. They don't have a problem because that information is already in our
On the
system.
system, yes.
But for the AS result and the other results that are coming to that are going to be released at a later stage, we are still to receive the file.
Okay.
For the AS, probably, maybe if we are lucky, we may get it today.
Okay.
Or so before the end of this particular week.
Yes.
But we would like just to encourage them that they should be patient a little bit. And we will make an announcement. The moment we receive the file and we upload the file into our system,
Yeah.
We will definitely make an announcement that it's done.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Sylvanus, there's the answer for you. Please do stay tuned to your necessary news platforms so that you do not miss these announcements when they are made. It is good that you have started the process. We applaud you for that. So just stay tuned to your news platforms. You will get that information from NASFAF, as Mr. Hamwele is stating. We've got a comment here from our Facebook platform, and Claudia Kahamba is asking, can NASFAF help us, those who are going to study bachelor's with 23 points in 5 subjects and a D in English with regards to funding? Is it possible for NASFAF, or do they fund learners that have gotten 23 points in 5 subjects and a D in English? Mr. Hamwele, maybe a quick answer or response to that one?
No, unfortunately not. For a bachelor degree, you need to have at least 25 points in 5 subjects.
Okay.
Unless you downgrade to a diploma,
okay.
then we will be able to chip in and assist.
Okay. So, so just a follow-up on that one. So if somebody was to apply or downgrade to a diploma for the first year, and they do a course change to a degree, a bachelor's degree the next year, does NASFAF continue to finance them?
No, unfortunately not.
So, or do they need to reapply for NASFAF funding?
Yeah. And unfortunately, you need to have at least 25 points in 5 subjects for a degree program.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So you can't just switch from a diploma to a degree.
No, unfortunately not.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a lot of people are probably asking the same question. I just wanted to know. Professor Mas, pardon me. We have kind of been silent on your side. Are you still with us?
Yes, thank you very much. And I just also want to really, I hear that NASFAF is still waiting for the file for the AS students. I just want really to invite all the AS graduates from last year and who has applied with UNAM and who do have their provisional admission letters. In the meantime, you can come to UNAM. We will check your results and we will give you a full admission as part of our pre-registration process.
Okay.
Before you have to pay,
Yeah.
and then you can sort out your things with NASFAF, and at least know that you will have full admission with UNAM. So we
Yeah.
are open from today. You are welcome to come to our campus.
Okay. No, I'm definitely glad to hear that there are some of these provisions that are being put in place to try and make sure that the transition between the two is as smooth as possible, especially during these times that we find ourselves. Not only did we have the COVID situation, then we also had the leakage with the exam papers last year, so it was a whole lot of confusion for our learners, unfortunately. Professor Mas, pardon me, we would like to stay with you. In your experience with the institution that you're with, which is the University of Namibia, are there any counseling services for learners and students with regards to career choices that maybe officers that they can approach, especially when there's confusion with regards to what it is they want to do with their lives? Do you provide something like that? I know Mr. Hamwele alluded to the fact that learners really have to take into consideration before they choose a course of study, where and how far they want to take that particular course of study. Professor Mas?
Yes, indeed. You know, our recently revamped Student Wellness Center offers a range of professional support services to our students, from a medical clinic, but then also to career guidance and counseling. And our students have access to this throughout the year, but even the learners, even our prospective students can come and reach out to our professional staff and get some guidance. Choosing a career is such an important decision to make. at the stage when learners are at a very vulnerable stage of their lives. And as a university, we really want to support them and have these services available. So we have career guidances, counselors that can give the guidance, but we also, these people can also refer our students and our prospective students to other counselors outside the university that can assist with psychometric tests that will assess your personality, your interest, your aptitude, and then link that to possible careers. Unfortunately, at the moment, we are not offering those services on campus. We plan to do that, but at least we can refer our students and our prospective students to do so.
Okay. Mr. Dhrhardt and Mr. Nashilunda, I assume it's a similar situation at your institutions? Okay.
Yeah, at NUST also, we further, equipped our regional coordinators, because we have regional centers also, with basic career guidance skills and counseling skills, so that they can assist our distant students. Because we cannot just give these services in Windhoek only to the full-time and the part-time students that's based in Windhoek. So our regional coordinators, they can also, guide students. In addition to that, we also refer our students if they really need additional counseling services. Because we have the Dean of Students, we have student services, we have trained counselors there that can assist our students. So yes, we do.
Okay. And also just quickly, Mr. Nashilunda, I would like to touch on the matter of changing courses. NSFAF, unfortunately, doesn't fund once a person switches courses, understandably so. How flexible is your institution in allowing this? Just a quick, in the interest of time, just give us a quick insight on how you deal with it.
A course cannot be enforced on a student. A student has to study what they wish to study, or what they've applied for, or what they qualified to study. So if a student wishes to change from one course to the other, the only thing that we check is that do they also qualify for the course they wish to change to? And if the answer is yes, we'll change that student right away.
Mr. Amwela?
Yes, I just want to make one thing clear, because if we say we do not allow change of courses, it's too broad. Let us put it into perspective. We are talking about changing the levels. So say, for example, you are doing a diploma program, and you would like to elevate to a degree program, but you do not have the minimum requirements, the minimum points for the degree program. So which in this particular case, a degree program will invite a minimum point of 25, while the diploma program is something else. So if you change the levels, you may be affected. In terms of funding.
Okay. Mr. Dhrhardt?
Yes.
Something similar?
We allow students to change courses, but we have a cut-off date.
Oh, okay.
Because we cannot, once the semester is, started, and it's in the middle of the semester, unfortunately, we cannot change. So let's say, for example, if you register now, and you would like to change course, then we only allow amendment until the end of March. Because you have to remember that the student needs to start with a new course, for example. So this is why we have a cut-off date. But with also approval from the other faculty or department where the student would like to go, sign off on this side, the registrar needs to be informed, it's all recorded on a form, and it will be placed into the student's file. So that we keep record on for that.
Okay. So it's simple. It's allowed institution-wise, but it has its regulations and rules around it. And I think it's similar. It's the same situation with NSFAF. I mean, a world without rules, what chaos can we not expect from it? I think this is unfortunate that we don't always have enough time to deal with some of these topics, that one would always want to grind and, go deeper and peel off the different layers just to ensure that there is deeper and greater understanding for our learners who have to take this very difficult leap journey from being secondary school learners into tertiary school students. Unfortunately, we are ending here for this afternoon, but as I said, it is the first of 3 series, so you can expect one of our topics for the rest of the week to be facing or specifically focusing on this academic transformation. For this afternoon, we would like to thank you for being part of our discussion this afternoon. The message is simple. There's a lot of provision being made to try and adapt to the circumstances that we find ourselves in, not only for COVID, but also due to the late release of results. So all you need to do is approach the various institutions and find out what are their requirements, what they can do to help you, and what it is that you need to put in place to be able to ensure your admission to these institutions. Until Wednesday afternoon at 3 o'clock when we meet again, from myself, Shianwa Desire Kahiha, and my lovely production team, we say bye-bye.